I said this would be brief tonight. It says in the Bible that we are God's workmanship, created in Christ for good works. It also says in Colossians that all things were created through him and for him. We've used those verses before. But, things seem to have changed. People do not rely on the church the way they used to. People do not go to church the way they used to. Religion has in fact fallen out of favor in many areas, even though the truths of those statements remain unchanged. It says in 2 Thessalonians, "Brethren, do not grow weary in doing good." But we now rely an awful lot on others. People rely on the government for almost everything, almost to the point of government worship. It's almost as bad as it was back in the days of emperor worship in the Roman Empire. People rely on the government for everything. And the government tries to respond in many ways. But we can see over the past number of years how things have changed, even in the past 40 years, how things have changed in the church. It was not uncommon that many years ago to have services twice a day, to have a service on a Wednesday night sometimes, prayer meetings for the week. Now sometimes it's fortunate to get enough people out once on Sunday for a service, just in the last 40-some years. But this is not really unexpected in many ways, because it does say that in the end times there will be a falling away from the faith. And 2 Timothy says this, that in the last days grievous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, haughty, railers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, implacable, slanderers, without self-control, fierce, no lovers of good, traitors, headstrong, puffed up, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of good. You may be able to think of someone who fits that description pretty good right now in the States. Holding a form of godliness but having denied the power thereof. From these turn away. So how did this come about? Such a way, so quickly. In November of 1973, in the paper, was this article. In 1931, Joseph Stalin issued a directive to Communist Party organizers and secretaries, which outlined how non-communist countries were to be subverted and prepared for communism. Excerpts from the directive appear on page 111 of Conflicts of the Ages by Dr. Arno D. Gabrielin and published in 1932. Among other things, Stalin urges the promotion of immorality, attacks on Christianity, the promotion of pantheism, and the introduction of cults. He orders cadres to promote legalized abortion, ugly art, free love, the destruction of the family unit, and the work ethic. He calls for the undermining of patriotism and the promoting of internationalism. He advises using liberal-minded clergymen and professors to give talks on the evils of the golden servant of profit, the brainwashing of youth into pacifism to the point of not resisting aggression, between state monopoly, the infiltration of economic organizations, and the launching of friendship societies and fronts. Stalin's directive orders attacks on all political parties and the weakening of all government departments by corruption, as well as the creating of suspicion and distrust of governments. He advised amplify fact by fiction and create startling exposures. Does that sound familiar to what is going on in much of the world today?
Wow.
This directive was written in 1931, and it was published in 1973, 45 years ago. If you can't see how it's exemplified and exaggerated since that time, you must not be reading the news at all. This was prophesied back in the days of Christ. Maybe he was just using Stalin as a means of bringing the prophecy about. But we are told to never give up doing good. We are told not to forbid ourselves from associating ourselves together. We are told to meditate on the Word always. Perhaps only by doing that sort of thing can we prevent further erosion such as has been illustrated here from happening. These are things we should all be thinking about.